Welcome back to Watching the Throne on the Late Night Chat Network, episode 60. All right, welcome back, everybody.
That song's gonna give me nightmares one day, bro. Straight up.
How come?
It's like one of those things that just repeats in your head. I feel like all I do.
You wake up in the middle of the night, and you're like, dun, dun.
And stand up on my bed ready to battle, man. Fuck.
But welcome back, everybody, to Watching the Throne, not Thrones, JT. But as much as you confuse me with the slip up that you do with that. But this is episode 60. Yeah, we're just barreling through here, making our way to the end. And we have Kyle, our returning guest, here with us today. He's really the Maester Stats. He's the Game of Thrones super fan guest here with us today. Kyle, what's going on? Or Lord K. What's going on?
Nothing, man. How have you guys been?
Good. Yeah, not bad.
How's it feel to make it to the end of season 6, JT?
It's been a long fucking journey, bro.
Yeah.
Or as Kyle said before we started the show, the last of the good seasons.
Yeah. Last of the great
Seasons. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, man. These are the last few episodes are pretty crazy, man. That's why this one was
wow.
This last episode too actually was really intense.
So I did want to quickly mention here at the top of the show, a little behind the scenes. Kyle originally had said, yeah, I'll come on at the end of season 6, put me down for episodes 9 and 10. So then when we were confirming things up, me and Jay were just about to record 8. And I reached out to Kyle. I said, hey, episodes 9 and 10 are coming up. Did you want to do both of them? Did you want to do one of them? What do you want to do? And he's like, okay, yeah, no, put me down for episode 10. Doesn't he so then we go and record episode 8 and 9 because I'm like, okay, he wants episode 10 now. So I'm like, okay, that's fine. Knowing that you said you liked that specifically episode 9, Battle of the Bastards. So maybe it's my fault too. I should have said something. But then I was like, oh, okay, maybe he just wants to do 10 because I know you said like sitting down here because we try to record a couple episodes back to back, guys. It's a long kind of, process. He's like, yeah, I maybe just put me down for an episode at a time. So then I was like, all right, yeah, no problem. So then don't we record 8 and 9 like the next evening? And then that weekend when Kyle was supposed to watch the episodes, he turns around and messages me on Sunday. And like it says, oh, actually, I mixed up the numbers. I actually want to do episode 9. I'm like, fuck, we've already recorded it. Battle of the Bastards. Well, knowing that this is his favorite episode, apparently, of the show. Like, this is
why I could use those extra couple nights, those extra couple hours of sleep, dude. You don't even know. We were up till
the shitty thing is I watched it on like Thursday or Friday night. I was sick for like 2 weeks, and when Nico messaged me, I was like, what? Record podcast? Oh yeah, sign me up for like one episode. And then when I went to sit down, I'm like, wait a second, it's Battle of the Bastards? He never fucking said that. So then I watched it, and then I'm like, I should message him now, and then I didn't for whatever reason, and then
here we are. It's just funny. That's why I kind of wanted to mention that, but like, I'm sure we just didn't do it enough justice if it was one of your favorite episodes. So I figured let's start off the show here. If you quickly wanted to mention why maybe it's one of your favorite, episodes.
I was just more excited for JT because it was such that's a great episode of the series, right? Like a lot of things come to an end, new beginnings. So I was more concerned, like, what did you think, JT, of that episode? Like how it ended?
Oh, I thought it was a good triumph at the end there, but it's still, I don't think it's as good as this one. I don't think it's as good.
Kyle, when after we did it, and then we watched this before recording today, like me and him, we chatted a couple of days ago even, and it was one of the few times where we just jumped into talking about the episode, and we had to stop ourselves because like. I was like, we got to do a show with Kyle in a couple of days. Like, let's stop talking about this, right? Like, we both agreed, actually. And I know how big of a Battle of the Bastards was at the time, of course, because, this is not my first time watching it. And that's still a great episode and a great shot episode. Yeah. Like, the cinematography in it, like, we were talking about that, like, that one thing with him in the middle of everybody where they pan up, like, the camera and they, like, show him, like, Jon Snow.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we went into all that on the episode. Like, it is a great episode, don't get me wrong, but there's so many interesting things that happen in this episode too that are leading kind of like you said, whether or not you like the last 2 seasons, there's a great switch, like all the alliances you see kind of coming together at the end of this episode that we're going to be talking about here today, the finale of season 6. I think this is the much at least better episode to talk about. Like, I think there's way more to talk about. Impact. And I might be wrong. I didn't completely check my stats on this one, even though I'm Mr. Stats over here. I think this might be the longest episode to date in the show, like up to this point. This is an hour and 7 minutes, this episode. So I think
it was.
I think there's a couple that clocked in just over an hour before this, but I'd not like several minutes over an hour. I think and obviously I think we're going to see longer in the last 2 seasons because of the fact that they're broken up like 6 and 7 episodes, right? But or 7 and 6. Is it 6 in the last season? I can't remember.
7 and 6, yeah.
6. But up to this point, I think this might be the longest episode. Honestly, there's a lot going on here.
I felt like it didn't end, right? And there was just so much fucking writing down for this one, like, because I was gonna forget. I mean, it was interesting, but like as you were saying about, you wanted to know a little bit more too. I was upset the day I lost Ramsey, man. I can't go for a coffee with the guy anymore, man. Nothing. You know, great actor. I know he played again. Maybe this was where he ended, but I enjoyed that part of it, right? Like I was upset, but I enjoyed the whole thing with John Conquering and everything. Just was standing on top, like Lika was saying, and just, you know, it was good visual effects, even though they weren't using like a CGI. Maybe they were a little bit. Not gonna have like a million people type, but you know, standing on.
Yeah, I mean, at the beginning of the episode, man, when the dragon flies in, that's 100% real. There's no CGI there.
No, I know.
You know, they hired 3 dragons. Everybody knows this. Like,
yeah, the writers were on strike, though.
It was the build up for House of the Dragon. You know, all these dragons were all flying around unemployed, and now they all have lucrative jobs.
Speaking of that, yeah, let's hold on. First though, is there anything else you wanted to add to? I know you said you wanted to hear his reaction, but like, do you remember the first time you watched that episode? Like,
what did you think when she summoned Drogon? When like she's talking with the Masters? Mm-hmm. And they're like telling her how her reign has ended and whatnot, and then she sees Drogon just flying in, and she's like, "My reign has just begun."
Yeah. That was a sick moment. Yeah, absolutely. You love the dragon stuff, though. I honestly, I like it. Don't get me wrong, and I think Jay's, but that's not my favorite stuff.
In this one, it's a little bit more corny as opposed to I see
I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't say
maybe not corny, but maybe the way it's done, like, it looks so fake. It looks like one step from Neverending Story Dragons.
No, hey, whoa. The Neverending Story is better, okay? Those are actually big animals. Those are actually big puppets, okay? No, it actually looked okay this season, actually. Those scenes looked all right compared to previous seasons. This season 6 we're getting into.
The
graphics are getting better now. Yeah, honestly. Yeah.
Right, how many
bigger budgets?
Yeah, but do you remember your first time watching that episode? Like, that's right, because you said that you had specifically said that was one of your favorite episodes, right? So I didn't know if there was a reason why. Was it just because of the beef between those two, like, that kind of built up? Was it because
the
whole North?
I fucking hated Ramsey from, like, you knew Ramsey was the next Joffrey, right? As soon as they axed Joffrey, right? And then it's like, okay, this guy's not going to make it to the end. You know that. But, like, I'm going to have to deal with this little twat for how many seasons to come. And he's going to rip fucking how many hearts out by beloved characters that he's going to off. So to see him just, like, especially because his acting was so good in that episode, too. The way he was talking shit to Jon Snow. The way he was talking to Sansa. You know, like, you're
Arrow, and he makes what's the Rickon fucking run, and the whole game he plays.
And you remember when that first came out, and there were so many memes and shit about, like, zigging and zagging, and the kid just ran in a straight line.
That's literally what I was telling Jay. I was like, you think he would have moved around a little bit more? Like, what the fuck is like? He's like looking back, like, kid, just fucking run. Like, what's wrong with you, man? Like, you could have, I wouldn't say easily avoided it, because the guy is obviously some sort of a sharpshooter. Like, that's his weapon of choice. Yeah. But, like, you know, the guy's fucking like he's not like Hawkeye out there. Like, I'm sure he could have fucking missed if the guy was like, you know, at least making an attempt to fucking dodge the
He could have made it a little interesting for him too. You know, he was like, there was like 3 arrows where he just like, whatever. And then the final one, he just like, yeah, you're dead. You know, little zig, little zag. Would have made it a little harder for Ramsey.
While I was watching it, he could have zigzagged, you know, but I didn't want Ramsay to go. I wanted to see him right to the end, see what happens, right? But I actually liked the character. I didn't think he was like Joffrey.
I think that one of the best things about it too was the fact that like how after all that shit happened, how quickly they made him look like such a big fucking huge coward directly after when Jon Snow actually had to go toe to toe. Oh yeah, you know that you wanted to fight a one-on-one. Let's go. I'm interested in that now. When he saw he lost, you know what I mean? Like, and he just got taken out in like 2 seconds, right? Like he tried like a little slick move with his arrow, and fucking Jon, busted up that shield that he found on the ground and just like knocked the shit out of him, just continuing pounding his face into like, you know what I mean? Just like meat and fucking bone just flying all over the place, just fucking pounding into him, right? And then, of course, you get the Sansa redemption with the wolves at the end too, right? Which was kind of a sweet little kind of like last final thing for it to happen to him after everything that these people did, right? So yeah,
dogs are hungry.
No, it was great. It is a great episode. It is a great episode. But I was telling Jay, I at least, as much of this piece of shit bad guy he was, I still enjoyed him as a bad guy more than Joffrey. Like Joffrey was just annoying to me, while this guy's like, this is the you love to hate villain type guy. For me, so I just found Joffrey like a whiny bitch, right? That had a bit of a sadistic side. This guy was like evil as fuck. This guy, so like what I mean? You kind of wanted to see this guy get taken out, right? So yeah, good stuff. So
I didn't.
But before we get into today's episode, guys, though, I do also want to mention, because of the timing of Kyle coming on here, the trailer for the season 2 of House of the Dragon just dropped this past week. I'm sure you've seen it already, Kyle. What'd you think?
For sure. Wasn't bad. I mean, it was just a teaser trailer, but I liked what I saw.
Yeah. I mean, but ready to get. I mean, at least they confirmed that it's coming back this summer, so which is a good thing. I think after 2 years, it'll have been.
I think I also read that season 3 and 4 have been greenlit too. So
4 seasons.
Yeah.
Wow, I didn't think it was going to go up that high. To be honest with you, I thought it was going to be maybe 3.
It's the way people are rewatching House of Dragon. There's a lot of people that I think are doing this and either watching it or rewatching it or not. Watching it for the first time again. Like me, you know what I mean? Out there right now because of the House of the Dragons,
right?
Just to see, and I think that they get noticed on that too, right? So I would think.
Well, Kyle, you're welcome to come back when we start doing House of the Dragon rewatch if you'd like. And we actually do plan on doing like a weekly recap of the new episodes as they come out for the new season this summer. So yeah, you're always welcome back if that's the case. I just wanted to get your quick opinion on that because I know it just dropped. But today we're going to be talking about the finale, as I mentioned, The Winds of Winter, which is Game of Thrones season 6, not episode 9. Oops, I changed that. Episode 10, of course, the finale of this season. And Jay, when did this show air? I know you usually write that down originally.
June, is it June the 6th, 06, 26?
Yeah, June 26th.
Yeah, 2016.
Okay, so that's when this originally aired. So several years ago, this aired for the first time on television. And this is our weekly Game of Thrones overview kind of show where we talk about episode by episode Game of Thrones. Sometimes we have guests on like Kyle here with us today. And of course, JT, this is his first time ever watching this show. This is my first time rewatching it. Jay, let's get your comments here first. Overall, what did you think of this episode, though? You said you really enjoyed this one, right?
There's like 10 pages of shit to write down that I had fucking written down just so I can remember everything that goes on. There's so much stuff took place, and I'd like to see where it goes from here. And this is where you feel like you're at the top here. Now you gotta have this fucking come down, right? You're at the climax. That's what I feel right now of the whole series, but
ultimately I think there's still some things to look forward to in the last 2 seasons, despite everybody fucking bad mouthing it to you that's been a fan of the show. I think there is still some good stuff. I think ultimately, though, not everyone was satisfied where some of the plot lines went, how fast it moved, and like kind of where some characters ended up, let's say.
Well, you remember, like I said to you, there was a lot of
it's all a matter of opinion, honestly. Like there's the speed of the next seasons is crazy, you'll see, but that's I think the biggest complaint. And honestly, probably mine too. Like, we'll see how we feel revisiting it. Well, for me, anyways, revisiting it. But yeah, it should be interesting to at least talk about. But okay, so let's without further ado, lots to talk about. Let's get into it. All right, first scene here, we open up in King's Landing. Everyone's getting ready for the trial of Sir Loras Tyrell and Cersei Lannister. The small folk enter the Great Sept of Baelor along with Queen Marjorie Tyrell, Lord Mace Tyrell, and Sir Kevin Lannister. As Grand Master Maester Pycelle heads to the Sept, a small child stops him and whispers something into his ear in this scene. All right. So Jay, were you suspecting some sort of lead up of some shit to go down here? When did you clue in that you thought like some big things are gonna happen here in this episode? Obviously, it's the finale, so you know that.
Yeah.
But in typical Game of Thrones fashion, did you kind of like, as the scenes progressed, was there a certain point where you're just like, oh fuck, what's happening here? Like, what's about to go down? For me too, revisiting this, it was
every
like chilling.
Every time they went to a Cersei scene, it was kind of like, where the fuck are they going with this? I didn't understand what that. I couldn't picture what that was, even though I seen it before. And everybody's getting ready to go into the court, and getting together. And then I didn't know they didn't know what kind of trial this thing was going to be, and this was going to be interesting. So it started off as a little bit of an interesting,
right?
But I didn't start off from last season,
right? So then Sparrows of the Faith Militant brings Sir Loras in first as the High Sparrow awaits. Instead of having a trial, Loras confesses to his crimes and tells the High Sparrow that he wishes to devote his future lordship of Highgarden. Devote his life to the faith. The High Sparrow tells him that this would mean that he renounces his family name and his future lordship of Highgarden, but Loras tearfully agrees. The Sparrows then seize Loras and carve a 7-pointed star into his forehead. Fuck, that looks like it would hurt, eh? Just like raw, like, all right, like
it was rough.
Come over here. We carve this into your forehead.
Not like they use something hot and they just stamp him with it, and give him a brand him or whatever.
Mace actually tries to fight his way through the crowd to stop them while they're doing this, but Marjorie, her voice trembling, holds him back in this scene. And so this is where it kind of starts. I wanted to point this out. The piano music, like the music starts getting very ominous. Like you're like, as soon as the music started going like that, you're like, something's fucking happening. Like you got kind of like a Red Wedding type of vibe. You know what I mean? Like there was like, as soon as they started with the ominous music, I was just like, oh shit, some shit's about to go down. Like again, I've seen this before, but it's been a long time. I think I've only seen this once, like I said. And revisiting this, I'm like, it was kind of chilling, honestly, like the way they led up to this, like what was about to happen, right?
Yeah.
They really build tension. Like it really built tension, I thought. And like otherwise, it was a very quiet scene. Like seeing all of them kind of go through the shit in the church and everything else. Like it was a very, very quiet scene, other than like the music kind of really driving it, right? And then you see King Tommen. He prepares to depart the Red Keep for the trial of his mother, but Sir Gregor Clegane, of course, the mountain there, prevents him from leaving his room. And again, this is kind of cutting back and forth very quickly here, but then you see kind of it goes back to Marjorie. She protests to the High Sparrow for mutilating her brother, but the High Sparrow replies that he only promised to allow him to leave after Cersei faces her trial. She's kind of shocked that he went through with cutting the shit into his head and everything else, right?
The whole family, I think.
I think
his father's there.
Well, she's like, listen, we're giving in to what you're asking of us. Like, why are you still like mistreating us kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
I guess like that's kind of where she was coming from. And like this whole time, again, still, we feel like here's a question I have for Kyle. Did you think that she was still playing a ruse up to this point or not? Because it's somewhat revealed that she might be in on a route like that because she told her grandmother to get the fuck out of there last episode. And like it seemed like that was the only time where she was kind of like in her right mind, like some shit's about to go down, like get the fuck out of here. But like, other than that, like, it seems like she was pretty brainwashed into like, kind of like this whole thing now. Yeah. I don't know. What do you think, Kyle?
I think she was just more so playing the part because the High Sparrow is kind of a religious nut, right? So and she was locked up by him too, right? So if you deviate from, what he's saying, and he's got his brother. Like, I think she was just trying to like really sell the part of, I'm gonna follow the faith and all that, and then he's gonna give up her brother. I mean, if what happened didn't happen, who knows how quickly she would have turned once he was safe, right? But no, I think she was playing the game up until when she saw her grandmother in the last episode, and it was just like, get the fuck out of Dodge before this nut job locks you up for something that you did, right? And Olenna is probably she's one of my favorite characters too.
Yes.
But she's pretty, outspoken, so
it
would have been a good back and forth between her and the High Sparrow, but I could see her getting herself into a lot of trouble, and it seems like he caught a lot of people off guard with his little army that he kind of mustered with all of his faith militants and whatnot. So I was happy to see her get out of there, but sad to see so many characters get obliterated. And
absolutely. Lancel tells the High Sparrow that Cersei has yet to leave the Red Keep. So the High Sparrow asks him to go retrieve her. As Lancel is walking out, Arthur, one of Qyburn's little birds, lures him away to the catacombs below the Sept. Meanwhile, Pycelle follows Francis, another little bird, into a room where Qyburn awaits him. Qyburn apologizes to Pycelle for the inconvenience. Then multiple children surround him and begin stabbing him repeatedly to death. This was brutal.
Yeah, that was brutal.
What's it called? That other movie from where the kids just go fucking nuts.
Lord of the Flies?
Children of the Corn? Lord of the Flies?
Lord of the Flies.
Yeah.
That just reminded me of that shit. All these little kids fucking coming up, stabbing this old man.
Yeah.
That guy should have been able to run. Wasn't that the one that was banging the hookers?
Yeah, he was banging one at the start of this episode. And she's like, "Are you going to pay me now?" And he's like, "Get out of here later." Yeah, well, he was an idiot, that fucking guy. He's always a big moron, Pycelle, right? That's what I like. I mean, as much disrespect as he got from Cersei and shit, I think that was the only person where it was deserved because he was a bit of a fucking idiot, that guy. Like, he was...
Well, you know, that was all, like, a ruse, right?
Oh, yeah. Well, he did one of those things where he danced around after having sex with the hooker, and then he got his cloak on and he was, like, hobbling like an old-ass man all of a sudden. Yeah. That was all
I think it's season 2 or season 3. There's a deleted scene with him and Tywin where Tywin's fishing, and he comes and he's like his bumbling self, right? And then Tywin just like, knock your shit off, and then he like stands up straight and he's like, "I'm sorry, my lord. Sometimes I even convince myself and all this, right?"
Deleted scene. And interesting.
I wonder if the guy's only like 25, but he looked older. He aged quick, you never know.
Yeah, no, I think it's smart that if that was a deleted scene that they removed it though, because I think the less talked about it, the better. But there was a couple of scenes where they kind of indicated that he was actually not like feeble-minded, and he was like, he was old, but like he was still spry and stuff like that. You know, clearly, right? He wasn't that. He just did that as, you know, to get by. I think so people would feel sorry for him or something, right? Yeah.
Maybe see him as less of a threat, right? Like, oh, this old man, just put him in the corner, send him away.
The guy he like got led down to there. That was the other guy that made the, what's his name?
Yeah, they made the Frankenstein's monster. Yeah.
Okay,
Qyburn. Yeah. He's the guy that they brought in that's been working for Cersei, right?
I just forgot his name.
I like that he stayed with him.
Yeah.
He's like, I bear you no ill will, you know, nobody deserves to die alone. And then all these toddlers come out and just stab the shit out of him.
Yeah. But of course, you know, we know that he took all the birds under his wing after Varys left the King's Landing, right? So like that's what I
was wondering, you know,
gave him candied plums.
All of a sudden they make Maester what's his name? Into like a fucking Frankenstein.
Maester Pycelle,
starts banging hookers by the dozen.
That's a spinoff. You didn't hear about that show?
Well, it might be. You never know.
Maester Pycelle.
On the streets again.
Yeah, on the streets again. All right. So Marjorie realizing something is very wrong in this scene. And like, I didn't mention it, but like previous to this, you see like Cersei kind of like in the Red Keep, and then like you see them stop Tommen from like leaving, and like all these things are happening at the same time, these scenes, like as it's slowly unfolding, like this whole scenario, right? And Marjorie here, she's realizing something is very wrong since Cersei and Tommen are still not at the Grey Sept for the trial. Confronts the High Sparrow. She tells him that it's a trap, but he does not listen. Below the Sept, Lancel continues to follow Arthur, who drops the torch that he was carrying. When Lancel goes to pick up the torch, the child stabs him in the spine and runs off. Paralyzed from the waist down, Lancel looks around where he is laying and discovers that there is a bunch of wildfire. One of those Mad Kings secreted beneath King's Landing as part of his plan to deny the city, which we actually just talked about last episode. Tyrion actually mentions it in the Battle of the Bastards when he's talking to he's talking to when he's talking about her father, how he was, you know, the Mad King, like when he's talking to Daenerys. Yes. And he says that he's like, you know, your father was planning like to blow up the whole fucking city. Like, and they reminded us of the wildfire that they referenced, you know, all those seasons ago when he was in the battle, Tyrion, when he was kind of before time.
The Battle of Blackfire or something.
Yeah, that's it.
Blackwater, that's it. Season 2.
So it's kind of cool that they just kind of mentioned it last episode, and then here it is. They put, it shows up again, right? That whole thing. It's still under there. He was planning to deny the city to his enemies when facing certain defeat at the end of Robert's rebellion. About to be set off with 3 candles at the end of the hall. He desperately crawls towards it in an attempt to put the candles out. Marjorie tells everyone in the sept they need to leave immediately, but the Faith militant block the doors, preventing anyone from exiting. Lancel does not make it to the candles before the wildfire ignites, flooding the tunnels with green flame. In this sept, the gathered nobles hear the muffled explosions before the fire punches through the floor, burning the High Sparrow down to his bones where he stands, then building to such intensity that the great sept shatters and crumbles to rubble, flinging debris far and wide and leveling the city for a mile around. So that was a big fucking deal. Yeah, that's great. Yep. Cersei rather burned down a part of her capital than fucking, it was the only way out. She lost control, right? And this is all of her own making, right? This was all of her own making. She's the one that fucking lost control of this whole situation. And isn't she the one that gave the High Sparrow power too? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, because it was a power play against the Tyrells, right? But unfortunately, backfired on her, right? So that's
because this guy had his own agenda.
That's right. Yeah, well
his
said.
Religion and everything, right? And all that stuff that was going on, and she didn't want it anymore.
Once she gave him this much power, that was it. Yeah, it was kind of like she couldn't get
take him out.
Yeah, so that she couldn't get back control of the situation, right? It got away from her. Yeah. This is the only way out, I guess, in her eyes. So fucked up. What do you think of the graphics of that one blowing up?
It was very distant. I could have probably even did that with a film camera or something nowadays, but it was all right. No,
I liked the green fire. That was, I mean, it is what it is. It looked all right. Yeah.
They showed you it from a mile away, where she's looking on, right?
Yeah,
that it's blowing up. But
I just think it's funny. You're speaking from this point of privilege of like watching House of the Dragon, the best looking fucking show they've ever produced, because they put money behind it. Fucking what? Over 10 years later, after the show already finished, you're coming from a place of you gotta understand.
It takes 2 years to get one season out, where we used to get a season every year.
Oh, Crimea River. You should have waited. What was I gonna say? But you guys all wanted to be part of that water bottle or water cooler talk.
Water bottle talk. Yeah, we're all part of the water bottle talk.
Now it is. There's no coolers anymore.
So what did I write here? Yeah, graphics decent, brutal. What happened? Oh, Cersei's face, kind of observing this go down, from where she was. That was awesome. Yeah, really great stuff. And unfortunately, realized just a little too late. Right, just realized just a little too late about what was going down, Marjorie. Unfortunately, I would have liked to see some more Marjorie. I like that actress. Unfortunately, that was it for her, right? So, this next scene here, though, Cersei looking out one of the windows in her room, as I just mentioned, smiles at the explosion, even as the screams of the terrified and dying population shatter the air. Meanwhile, from his own chambers, Tillman stares at the explosion in shock and disbelief. Still feeling victorious, Cersei pays a visit to Septa Unella. This is a great scene too, who is unconscious. Shame. And has been strapped to a table. Cersei awakens her by pouring a pitcher of wine on her face as she struggles. She prompts Septa Unella to confess that she enjoyed tormenting her during her imprisonment, not for the sake of the gods, but because it felt good. Continuing her mockery, Cersei smugly goes down a list confessing that she committed her crimes, including her incestuous relationship with Jaime, causing Robert's death, and the massacre of the people in the sept because it all felt good. Finally, Cersei reminds Unella of the promise she made that her face would be the last thing the Septa saw before her death, to which Septa Unella stiffly declares that she is not afraid to die. Cersei gleefully assures her that she will not die right away and her torture will last many days, and brings in Sir Gregor Clegane the Mountain, who removes his helmet and begins his work. Walking away and closing the door, Cersei echoes the word shame 3 times, just as Unella did during the Cersei's Walk of Atonement, while the Septa screams in horror at her fate. Yeah, so the way this kind of got set up for a second, it looked like that thing was going to bang her.
That's right. What was going on, man? What the hell?
I knew you were gonna get to that, but I agree with you. Actually, I knew you were gonna say something stupid like that, because that's how that's how your mind works. But in a way, though, it did seem like some sort of like he was gonna fuck her to death. Because honestly, that fucking guy, the size of that guy, forget that, man. I don't know. Did you ever think that, Kyle?
Well, I mean, it's not like he hasn't done that kind of shit before, right? But now he's a little changed, as they say.
You know, it's a form of torture. I mean, Ramsay did it, right? So, I mean,
yeah. So
it was. It made me. That's where drug my dirty mind, at least. I mean,
but you know, the thing is though that he left without us knowing kind of what her fate was, right? Yeah. But you know, it was actual probably just who knows what the hell he was gonna do to her. I don't think they were trying to set it up to make you think that though. But yeah, it is a thought that crossed my mind too. Yeah, it is. It did. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie.
They set it up that way.
Yeah, right? But yeah, so then this next scene, after being informed of the explosion and its casualties, including his beloved wife, Tommen takes his crown off his head, sets it down off screen, mind you. He kind of walks off screen. You don't know what the fuck he's doing here. You know, throws his crown down, he walks off screen for a moment somewhere, and then calmly steps out of the window to his death. Kyle, what'd you think of this death? Coward's way out.
Unexpected. I was like, oh, I didn't see him biting the bullet, but I don't know. It was kind of a good getting back at Cersei, you know, because I don't know. I don't think up until now, everyone knew she was crazy and capable of like horrible things, but this was really the tipping over part where it was like, wow, there's no coming back for you from this, you know.
Yeah, no going back from this. I mean, I think you actually bring up a good point, and I know Jay was going to mention the fact that he thought maybe it was a little extreme just because he lost his wife, and I guess his being able to get laid again, like that's what Jay's idea.
I can't get laid anymore. My first, that was his first. That's where he lost his virginity. So
right.
I can see that feeling coming in, but
I think Kyle brings up a good point because I didn't really look at it that way either, with the big picture of being the fact that you know, him just even coming to that realization of what she did to the city, to the people and everything like that. Yeah. Not just his wife. Like, I think he's right. There's no coming back from that. And how is he supposed to reign as a king, knowing damn well that his mother did that too? You know what I mean? Like, so I don't know if I would.
He tried to be a good king, you know. He didn't try to be. I mean, he was easily manipulated because of how young he was, especially after his grandfather died, because there was no real shield protecting him from all the people that just want to manipulate him.
Good point.
But you know, yeah, there was no coming back for it. Now, if Joffrey had lived and that had happened, he wouldn't have given a fuck. It would be like, get me a new wife, whatever.
Yeah, it's true.
It's true.
It's
true.
True.
It is.
It's true.
He was the worst of the two brothers, and that's what happens.
Well, no, I think he was like the only. Well, they had said even before when he became king as a result of all that, they even said like they actually might have a good future for once with him as king, because they're like, he's smart. He cares about the people. Like they you know, they really hyped him up. Like you said, Tywin really did in that sense too. Yeah, no, Kyle made actually a lot of really good points there about the fact about him being king, and unfortunately maybe this pushing him to the edge of killing himself. Right, I didn't see it coming the first time around. Honestly, it was shocking to me. But rewatching it now, though, even though I knew what was coming, because they kind of set up that whole thing with all three of her kids, with that witch woman or whatever said that prophesized that they were going to die. This was it. This is it coming to true. Like she did lose all three children over the course of the series here. Yeah. So as much as she loved her children, which is not going to bode well for anybody now that this happened, right? Like that's the thing. That's the thing. Like she's, like Kyle said,
kids were the one thing keeping her like human,
right.
You know. Now she's just gonna
got nothing to lose. Yeah, she's you're right. No, there's no going back, as Kyle said. And I think even you as a first time viewer could see that by the end of this episode where she is. Like, yeah, it's just she's now in charge. Watch out. Like, you know what I mean? Like, this is not good.
Her family's done. The only one that's around is her two brothers and one of them he's banging.
And she hates Tyrion. She hates Tyrion.
They haven't ran into each other for a while. That's why I want to know what the fuck.
So
going on.
All right. So then we check in on speaking of her brother Jaime here, and Bronn arrive at the Twins to celebrate their victory at River Run and the alliance between the Freys and the Lannisters. However, Jaime had to ride north from King's Landing to retake River Run from the Blackfish with the persuasion of Edmure Tully. Walder Frey nevertheless crows over his victory and tries to build a rapport with Jaime, stating that they are both Kingslayers. Insulted by the comparison, Jaime angrily asks him why the Lannisters need House Frey on their side when they cannot control the Riverlands. and then leaves the feast and the dumbstruck Walder. Yeah, Walder was kind of like trying to get all chummy with him in that scene. And he's kind of like, you're an idiot. Like, he's like, I don't even want to be here right now. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah. If I wasn't exiled from King's Landing, I would have sent a lackey.
Right. And he's just like, how many of these people did you kill, Lord Frey or whatever? He's like, that doesn't. He's like, what does he say? He says something about like, yeah. No, but back in the day, he's like, oh, I'm the smart one. I'm the one who's still sitting here. They all laughed at me or whatever. He's great, that actor. I've seen him in a lot of things. That guy, yeah, he was really good. I liked him in that show, The Strain. I don't know if anybody ever see. Have you guys ever watched that? The Strain, the vampire one? Yeah. He's the old ass man. I forgot his name in it. Not Dothraki. That's this. Dothraki. Isn't it like Dothrakian or something? I forgot his name. Have you ever watched that, Kyle? That Strain show, The Strain. It was like a vampire show, and like he was on it. He was like an old vampire hunter. He was pretty awesome. But I seen that. Obviously, that came out after Game of Thrones, though. Yeah. So, after Tommen's body is found, Cersei's triumph is greatly diminished. Standing by his covered remains with Qyburn, she insists on seeing her son's face one last time. Qyburn asks Cersei what she wants to do about funeral arrangements since the What's this?
He is there. Yeah, I didn't even know.
Yeah, he's in that show. Yeah. What's his name on there? What's his name? Abraham Satrakian. See, I was close. Yeah. Qyburn asks Cersei what she wants to do about funeral arrangements since the Sept of Baelor is obviously no longer an option. She tells him to burn the body and bury the ashes where the great Sept of Baelor once stood so that Tommen may rest with his brother, sister, and grandfather. Also, that's right. She wiped out the rest of them too. In
no
terms
emotion,
of, not in this moment. She's over it, right? She's like,
that's it. She's emotionless now. Now it's just let's play ball. I feel.
Which is bad for this type of character, for everybody else, anyways.
Exactly. Bad for the whole fucking Westeros.
And this next scene, your boy Sam and Gilly and her son finally arrive at Old Town, spotting the high tower with dozens of white ravens being released, signaling the arrival of winter. After arriving at a bureaucrat's desk in the Citadel, Sam informs the Maester he has been sent by the Night's Watch Lord Commander, Jon Snow, to be trained as a Maester. The bureaucrat, maintaining a deadpan expression, is hesitant because Jorah Mormont and Aemon are recorded as maintaining a deadpan recorded as Lord Commander and the Maester of Castle Black. Sam awkwardly informs him that the two died before the ravens could be sent out. While he arranges for Sam to meet with one of the archmaesters, he allows him access to the library, but sharply says that Gilly and her son, cannot come in, he says to them. As Sam explores the library by himself, he is in awe of the vast collection of books and scrolls. This was a funny scene. I liked this scene actually quite a bit. Like
the dorky guy. I always remember something like that. There's always something in like those old shows where he's holding the fucking thing.
Yeah. So I didn't look it up, but I know that actor from something. I know that guy who played that guy in this scene. I didn't look up the scene. I didn't do my due diligence, but I think I feel like I've seen that guy in something before. He's like one of that guys. Like, you know what I mean? Like I seen the dude there. I'm like, oh, it's this fucking guy. And I don't know what I seen him in. I like the line too that he said. He's like, oh, that's quite irregular. Like the people died and he wasn't like notified. He's like, well, you could say life is pretty irregular. And he's just like, all right, we can deal with this later. Yeah.
Be notified. He's gonna take him 2 months for a fucking pigeon to get there.
I know, but it's so true. Like everything that he's been through, he's like, well, no, he died unfortunately because he doesn't know, because this guy's sitting in his library halfway across the world. He has no idea what's going on over there. That's why he's like, oh, he died. He's like, oh, how about this guy? No, he died too. What?
He died while he was waiting. Yeah.
And Jon Snow, who's the current in charge, he died and came back to life. But he doesn't know that. He doesn't know that.
Say that. No. Sam doesn't know that. No,
he doesn't know that. No, Sam left before that happened. Yeah. So, but yeah, very funny. I like this moment. I like Sam. All right. What else we got here?
Too. I hadn't seen him. I like when they said no, women or children. That was the best time.
Yeah.
That's when I would.
What the fuck do you think you're doing? Get your ass out of this library.
I would arrange.
No women and children. Like, oh, all right. So why do you touch our books? Get the fuck out of here. They're the nerds of their time, these guys, right?
Don't touch my books.
So that's what I say to you in this room. Don't touch my books.
I came down here.
Don't touch my toys. Okay. Melisandre and Jon Snow are in Winterfell's main hall, where the latter is reminiscing when Sir Davos Seaworth angrily strides in and tosses Princess Shireen's burnwood and stag to Melisandre, demanding that she explains herself. At first, she is silent, but as Davos loses his composure, she admits that she convinced King Stannis Baratheon to sacrifice his own daughter to the Lord of the Light. She defends herself by saying that it needed to be done because Stannis' forces were stranded in the snow, and that Shireen's parents made the decision as well. Davos quickly dismisses this defense by pointing out that they died anyway. He goes on to reclaim that her god is evil and tearfully admits that he loved Shireen Baratheon as his own daughter. Fighting back tears, Melisandre concedes that she made an earnest mistake in believing Stannis was the Lord's chosen. Davos retorts that because of her mistake, not only did an innocent child die for a lost cause, so did many more good soldiers. This is when he finally discovers this, right? Since Melisandre showed up in this situation.
So you think it was a good move that he gave her a chance to not come back, to walk away, or you think he should have fucking hung her?
It's hard to say because she brought him back to life. You know what I mean? That's the only thing I think she has on him to allow. That's the only reason I don't think he killed her, because now is she going to go off and become an enemy to him somewhere? Is that what you're saying? Maybe there's there's a risk of that she can go aid somebody else. Right?
If he dies, maybe he wants to come back to life again. So he needs her.
He said he doesn't want to be brought back to life.
Yeah, in the last episode.
Yeah. I don't know. What do you think, Kyle? Do you think it was good of him to smart of him to let her live, or no?
I mean, it's very Jon Snow, right? He likes to be compassionate when he can, right? Would have liked to see Davos get his revenge, because I mean he's been putting up with her since like season 2, right? He's seen a lot of people die that he used to work with, all because she had a vision in the flames, and this guy's got to go. So I think it was for the best.
Great Davos scene when he stands up to her and fucking great Davos scene.
I liked what he said. They died anyway. Like, what do you mean?
Oh,
he had to sacrifice her.
He brought it this scene. Yeah, he fucking he was that was some acting in this scene on his part.
I mean, you seen it when he picked up the fucking deer. I thought it was made out of wood and carved out of wood, so I thought it would have been done. Like, it was in the fire, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you thought it would have fucking caught off. I just don't know how that happened.
We knew he was gonna find out at some point. Like, it was kind of like, it was in they showed it still not burnt up completely. We knew at some point this was gonna come back, because even when she showed up originally, Davos asked like what happened back there, and she's like, oh yeah, it was terrible. Like, she just didn't get into it, right? She didn't really. And then obviously this was going to come back to bite her in the ass, right? But I think the only thing that I think, because she brought him back to life, I would also probably give her a pass on this. But other than that, yeah, you're right. She should have been killed here for what she did, because the fact that she burned a child, like Davos said, but he warned her. He's like, if I see you again, I'm gonna fucking kill you, right?
I'm sick arguing on her point. I mean, she had great grayscale. So I mean, if you want to just,
who has grayscale?
The daughter that they killed, Shireen.
Oh,
well, not anymore.
Oh,
like, it wasn't gonna. Grayscale wasn't never gonna kill her.
No, she was living with it at that time. Yeah.
Yeah.
Davos demands Jon's leave to execute Melisandre for her actions. Jon, upon learning of this, asks Melisandre if she has anything to say for herself. She replies that she only followed the Lord of the Light, and implies that he is also responsible for bringing Jon back to life. That she's also responsible for bringing Jon back to life, and insists he can still be of use in the battles to come against the Night King. Still greatly displeased, Jon tells Melisandre to ride south, or he will hang her as a murderer. Davos adds that he will personally execute her if she ever shows up in the north again. Yeah, great fucking scene though, and I thought Davos really brought it in this one. Then as Jon and Sansa look on as Melisandre is leaving Winterfell, Jon tells Sansa that he has had Eddard and Catelyn's master bedroom prepared for her, though she insists that he should have it. Jon remarks that Sansa is the Lady of Winterfell, and because of her, they are alive and have Winterfell back. She apologizes for not telling him about Littlefinger's Knights of the Vale. He asks Sansa if she trusts Littlefinger, which firmly denies. With that, Jon tells her that they have to trust each other because the Starks have many enemies, and then gently kisses her on the forehead. Sansa informs Jon that a white raven arrived earlier. Winter has finally arrived, just as Eddard has always promised. Kyle, what do you think of them depending on Littlefinger to save the day in that last episode, though, in his troops, the Knight of the Vale, and that breast sucker teenager kid? What is it? Robin Arryn. They have that.
Well, not to go into too many spoilers about Robin Arryn. I mean, he kind of winds up looking like a G by the end of all this for everything that he did. But I mean, so many times she could have told John, like, hey, we got like another 3,000 men hauling ass right now to come help. But, you know, no, she's just like, nobody listens to me. And nobody cares what I have to say. And it's like,
tactically, he could have figured something out where he doesn't sacrifice everybody.
Yeah, you know, it's like, well, we're just going to kill you and all your wildling friends. Hopefully you survive. And then, you know, it'll be my army. Like,
no, they lost the giant in that fight. That's all I'm pissed about. They lost the fucking 1-1. Yeah, the giant.
The titty sucker.
Jay's boy. The titty sucker's still alive, bro. He's in the Vale.
Yeah, I know. I'd seen him there.
Yeah. All right.
I don't know. This is like where I start to really dislike Sansa, because it's just like, you know, you're playing the game too, but you're playing it against your own fucking family that's been through so much.
Brother.
And, you know, like,
and I know the other reason a lot of people hate on her as a character is that she also plays the victim a lot. Like she
was a victim a lot for many seasons. But
I was just about to say that. I'm like, she was in many situations for a while.
Ramsay too,
absolutely, she had a hard go of it, but I think that she also like had many opportunities where she actually did know what she was doing. She was making smart moves. You know what I mean? Like she had to fall back into that kind of like perception of herself, let's say, in some of these situations, right? That's what I mean. Like, so that's what I think some people disliked her because they felt like she was in like kind of acting like that a lot throughout the series. I mean, meanwhile, she has like, you know, she's capable of coming up with a plan like this. You know what I mean? So like, but you're right. You think she gets too full of herself moving forward, I'm guessing now, right? Like a little bit.
I mean, she's been trained by Littlefinger, right? And Littlefinger's a master manipulator.
Yeah.
But it's just like, you don't need to manipulate Jon Snow. You know, you should have just told him there's 3,000 fucking people on horse.
Yeah.
Why don't we just wait a day, you know, talk some more shit to Ramsay?
He did tell him,
and then we'll just obliterate him. But
he did tell him a bit. She did try to tell him, and she was like, "Don't you think I know something about this guy?" And he's like, "Yeah, you're right." But then she never proceeded to tell him anything else after that. Right?
Well, like if she had said, "I have an army coming," you would have heard a pin drop in that room. You know what I mean? They all knew that it was an uphill battle for them.
Yeah.
So I mean, other than that, I mean, it was great when the Knights of the Vale did come in and save all of them.
Yeah. I just think it had to be them, you know. Yeah, I know. It's just like no matter what happens, they can at least point to that and be like, yeah, see, we saved you in this battle, right? You know.
Well, you know what was another good thing though, because so many like Ned Stark, Catelyn, they all talked about like the Knights of the Vale, and like Ned grew up there and shit. And then you're just like, really, like, then when you see who the leader is, you're like, yeah, these are these great guys that are going to help. So it was nice for them to be like, you know, finally show up with an army.
Well, that's what I mean. But I don't think it was as well deserved of an entrance, like you said, in terms of who's leading them nowadays. Like for them to have come through and save the day all of a sudden, I don't think it was earned. Like you're right. We hear about how these guys were, but we never have really seen it. And we have all these bad examples of, you know, the Moon Door and all this fucking bullshit. You know what I mean? Like who are these loons? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Come out of nowhere. They're like, yeah, look at us, right? I don't know. So they saved the day, though. So kudos to the Knights of the Vale, I guess. In the Water Gardens here in this next scene. Here we go. This is one of these alliances we were talking about. Interesting. Ellaria and the Sand Snakes meet with Olenna Tyrell, who is now in mourning after the deaths of her son and grandchildren. After the Queen of Thorns shuts down the Sand Snakes' attempt to speak, Ellaria suggests that they must work together for survival, as Cersei has declared war on both of their factions. Despite expressing her distrust of Ellaria for orchestrating the deaths of Doran Martell and Tristan Martell, the brother and nephew, respectively, of the very same man whom she sought to avenge, Olenna clarifies that her house's future has been taken from her. Survival is not what she is after now. Ellaria then promises that an alliance with them will give Olenna her new heart's desire. When Olenna asks what that is, Ellaria states that it is justice and vengeance. At that moment, is that at this moment where Varys shows up or later?
No,
at this moment,
Varys rings a bell.
Yeah, Varys reveals himself and rephrases fire and blood. This was a holy fucking shit moment when he because we knew that he was traveling at this time. Yeah. We knew that he left Tyrion. And he ends up showing up here in this scene, and there's like some sort of it
just pops out of nowhere.
I mean, now that means that if he's showing up, there's going to be an alliance with them and Daenerys now.
I hope so.
Right? This is what we're supposed to believe, I think, by him showing up, right? And the fact that, you know, they're against the Lannisters and she's against them because they're in King's Landing now. Yeah, right. This is a crazy alliance happening here, and then we got these Sand Snake people who are still kicking, right? We thought that was probably going to be the end of their story at some point, right? But it's been a while, I think, since we've seen them earlier this season, right? So, yeah, I don't know. What'd you think of Olenna shutting down the daughters there? That was pretty good. She's like, women, powerful women are talking. Shut your mouth.
Yeah.
Yeah, the best. I love her too. Yeah, she's the best.
That attitude is the best.
They should do a spinoff like young Olenna. You know what I mean? Like,
I don't know. It should be such
get like some smoking hot woman. She said that she was slaying it back in the day. That's what she said. Like, I had my fair share of she was trying to tell us. I think maybe it was her daughter in that scene. I can't remember, her granddaughter.
She tells her granddaughter that she was supposed to be married to somebody she didn't like, so she went and fucked the guy that she wanted to. And then she's like, after that, all he wanted was me.
That's right. That did happen. Then we're back in here in Marine. Daario Naharis meets Queen Daenerys Targaryen, reporting that the fleet is nearly ready. He's eager to see how the Dothraki do on the open sea now that they finally got their boats there because of the Ironborn there coming last episode. Daenerys says that Daario won't be joining them, which Daario interprets to mean that he will go on to seize Casterly Rock to cut off the Lannister retreat. Daenerys clarifies that Daario is to stay in Marine with the second sons to keep the peace until the city can safely choose its own ruler. Furthermore, she cannot bring her lover to Westeros as marriage is still her most valuable bargaining chip when considering new alliances. Daario begs her to take him, pointing out that kings have lovers on the side all the time and that queens should be no different, but Daenerys stands firm. Daario realizes that Tyrion Lannister convinced her to leave him behind, but admits that it is politically a good move. Full of self-pity, he says that no woman could ever compare to the mother of dragons, although she is sure he will have many more lovers. Daenerys assures him that she will leave specific instructions for him to follow in governing the renamed Bay of Dragons, which that they're now calling it. Instead of slaves, obviously. Daario takes his leave. What do you think of this scene? Good stuff here. I think it makes sense. It actually really fucking. She was just his, the fuck toy, kind of like this guy, right? Like that was just this thing on the side during her conquest, right? But she's right in terms of like people wanting to marry her, in terms of political reasonings and stuff like that. It actually makes all the sense in the world. I'm like, yeah, that makes perfect sense. I like how he,
role, right?
Yeah, but I like how you figured out Tyrion was the one that convinced her too, right? Like, and she's like, she denied him, and then in this next scene here, it's confirmed that he's like, oh, how did he take the news? You know what I mean? Like, so yeah, that was really good. When he departs, she goes to see Tyrion, who unsuccessfully tries to console her. Dany thanks him, but admits that she is not upset about Daario. Rather, she was frightened that she was able to dismiss someone who loves her so much so easily. Tyrion says that Daario was the first man to love Daenerys and won't be the last. She then turns to the topic to Tyrion's rule of Marine in her absence. After defending his actions, Tyrion says that he gave up on believing in himself or in anyone or anything else, but he believes in her. Touched, Daenerys gives Tyrion a pin she had made for him, the brooch of the hand of the queen. Tyrion, struck with emotion, proceeds to kneel in front of her. This was, I thought, a rare act of kindness on her part that we don't normally see, I think, from Daenerys, right? Like, this was like, oh, I actually got this made for you. That was, very surprising.
Pin,
yeah, well, they all got them in like the hand of the king, like in King's Landing has the same thing, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, that's
it was neat.
Yeah, I just think I just thought you don't really see her do this kind of stuff, right? Like
well, like she told Daario in the last scene, right? Like, I gotta start playing the role of queen, right? So I felt like she was just kind of stepping into that, where it's like,
no, I mean, she could. Would have been better than a fucking pin.
She needs the dragons, bro.
Yeah, like, he could have rode on top of one. Could you imagine seeing a picture of Tyrion?
You know how many theories back then there were where it was Tyrion, because there was 3 dragons, so they wanted 3 dragon riders, right? And they're like, oh, Tyrion Lannister. They always talked about like his mom having an affair. He could be the one to ride the dragons.
Yes, I remember.
Plus, they never ate him when he went into when they were under. Like in the tombs in Marine, they never ate him, so everyone was like, "Oh my god, Tyrion's gonna ride a fucking dragon and kill people."
The fan theories were crazy for the show when it was up. It's like Tyrion obviously being a fan favorite, right? Like, but yeah, that was one of them. You're right. That was a theory that was going around back then. Yeah, there's a lot of interesting ones.
That's crazy.
Later in this next scene, Walder Frey is seen eating dinner in his hall when one of the servants serves him pie. He does not recognize his servant and immediately questions who she is. slapping her on the behind as he sarcastically wonders if she's one of his daughters. And he's like, no, you're not ugly enough or whatever. Does he say something? You're not ugly. Yeah, you want to mine? No, you're not ugly. She's like, no. He's like, yeah, figures. You're not ugly or something like that. But yeah, she then goes on to gripe about the tardiness of his sons, Black Walder and Lothar Frey, to which the servant earnestly insists that they are already present, directing a confused Walder's attention to the pie. Walder opens the pie and reacts in horror as he's been served the flesh of his own sons, a fingertip with a nail still attached, visible in the stuffing. The servant removes her face, revealing that she is Arya Stark of Winterfell, come to remind Walder of his crimes and take revenge.
That was fun.
He's on the list, man.
Yeah.
Arya cheerfully,
back and
he was on the list because remember they went to that she went with the Hound.
Down, right?
She went with the Hound to the outcome of the Red Wedding, right?
Yeah.
She saw it. Yeah,
it's there.
He's there. Arya cheerfully tells him that the last thing he is ever going to see is a Stark smiling down at him as he dies. Lord Walder is shocked and tries to escape, but Arya seizes and holds him down, then slits his throat, watching with a satisfied smile as the man who murdered her mother, brother, and pregnant sister-in-law and the last living mastermind of the Red Wedding bleeds to death. So, Jay, I know that when the last storyline ended with Arya in this season, we thought maybe that would have been it. That was the last we were probably going to see her as she got away from that Many Faces guy.
She stole it. Looks like she must have stole the head.
No, she's now got the ability to basically so remember how we said that was a very, very fucking pointless storyline. Me and Jay both thought. And honestly, this is, if anything, this is, I think, the main takeaway from that storyline is now that she has the ability somewhat to do this skill, I guess, right? Is right, Kyle? Like that's kind of like the main thing, I guess you could say from that storyline, right?
Yeah, I thought they were putting like a mask on. Like they were borrowing it from that fucking room. That's why I thought they were all on the wall. I know they were all killed and put there, and their faces were there, right? I thought it was just like one of those things, but I didn't know they could actually like transform into that person, make your eyes visualize that you're that.
Ask
person.
Kyle. Kyle, what do you think about that?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure she stole a bunch of masks or faces from when she left. Not to say that she can't make more in the future. But yeah, I felt the same way. I was like, what the hell is her storyline? Where is it going? You know, like
killing just the guys, right? Maybe she needs one of the girl and one of the guy to turn both sides. Like you see that guy Walter, sure close to Walter Frey because it was a girl. You know what I mean? We know what he's like. So and then maybe if she needs to get to whoever else is on her list, that's a female. She has a guy face, right? Or I don't know. I'm just trying to put this together, right? I'm going, where the fuck is this going?
Yeah, because I think ultimately, I don't know how you felt about Kyle. We kind of were just pretty dissatisfied with her storyline this season. It did feel very pointless, and like I still think, other than the fact that she can kind of now do this, which it was nice that they actually gave her a scene like this
to show you
utilizing this at the end of the season. Yeah, but I think it's just like
it leaves you confused though.
Yeah, there's a lot of questions. Like you said, we're not even clear whether or not, unless Kyle's just not saying it because he doesn't want to spoil something, with that she stole masks or not. Like, I don't know what she would have done, right? But she was there for a while.
We'll talk season 7, episode 1, all right? And
I don't recall, so there you go. I don't recall. I don't recall much.
Just, me, I'm just speculating. There's a lot I have to speculate on this thing. The next scene.
I'm sure your favorite quote in this scene, though, was when he's like, "What are they doing? Trimming their cunt hairs?"
Yeah. I wrote that down, but my eyes are a little up, so I'm having a fucking hard time focusing on.
What are they doing? Why are they late? Is that what he says? It? Yeah. I can't do his voice, but anyways,
trimming their cunt hairs. What did he say? Something about his sons too. His sons, are trimming their cunt hairs. Yeah, that's what his sons are.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
because he asked where they are. Why are these fucking guys late? Right? Yeah. All right. Later in the Godswood, Littlefinger approaches Sansa. She asks him what it is that he wants from her. She asks him that. He admits that he wants the Iron Throne with her at his side. He moves in to kiss her, but she stops him and walks away. Baelish states that he is openly declared for House Stark. Sansa reminds him that he has declared for other houses in the past, which didn't stop him from serving himself. He contests that was the past, but he's looking towards the future, adding that she is the future of House Stark. Ever insidious, he asks her who the North should rally behind, a true-born daughter of Ned and Catelyn Stark, or a motherless bastard born in the South. Sansa considers his words, but keeps walking without turning to look at him. Baelish shit's cooking, man. He's cooking. Baelish. He's like trying to move in on that, right? He's
trying to figure out how to stay alive.
In love with Catelyn, in love with her daughter. He just wants to be part of this family, bro. No, he wants obviously the Iron Throne, as we know. Then yeah. Then this next scene here, beyond the wall, you got Benjen drops Mira and Bran ran off at the grove with weirwood heart tree in sight of the wall, as he can go no farther. When Bran asks why, Benjen replies that the magic of the wall prevents the dead from crossing, such as himself. He plans to do what he can to prepare for the coming war, as he still fights for the living. After thanking his uncle, who rides off on his horse, he turns his attention to the tree. Mira expresses doubts about his readiness, but he insists that he must be the three-eyed raven, and places his hand on the face carved into the tree. Now, Jay, I know you're gonna have a lot of questions at the end of this, so we'll get to you. Just let me set up this scene, okay? This is a big scene. Set it up. It's a big scene. This is a big scene, okay? And Kyle, watch what you say in terms of spoilers for this, okay? Because we can going that way. We can only talk about what this scene is trying to depict. Like, we can't say like what we think otherwise, okay? This is what we have to go by what as a viewer we saw in this episode. All right, so he has another vision of the events of the Tower of Joy, right where he had left off before the old three-eyed raven interrupted. Having learned his lesson, Bran does not call after his father, who still turns around briefly before rushing into the tower. Inside, Ned, followed along by Bran, discovers his sister, Lyanna Stark, lying in bed with blood-stained sheets, being tended to by a few handmaidens. One of the handmaidens hands a newborn baby to Ned, who takes the child in his arms. A weakened Lyanna whispers to Ned of the baby's identity, and the baby is revealed as her son. Okay? She begs Ned to promise.
Son. That's all they said.
She begs Ned to promise he'll keep her child safe, as Robert would kill him should his identity be discovered, okay? As Ned looks at his infant nephew, the child's eyes open up to reveal the dark-colored eyes of Jon Snow, and then they cut to Jon Snow in this next scene. Bran realizes Jon is Lyanna's son, bro. Okay? So they basically are trying to make it seem in this scene that Jon is the son, because they cut right to him after that, and that it's his sister, and the bastard son that his wife gave him all that fucking hard time about because he went off to war and fucking fucked somebody and came home with a baby is not actually his son, right? It's his sister's. And that technically then that means he's not a bastard.
No.
Right. So go ahead.
But did Jon sleep with his sister? Or a sister? I mean, we know that's his sister, or is it? Yeah, that's his sister, because Robert's not his brother. So that's his sister.
Who is his sister? What are you talking about?
The one that was bleeding there. What's her name?
Lyanna.
Ned's sister.
That's Ned's sister. Sorry, yes. I don't know why I said Jon's sister.
Yeah.
My fault. That's I haven't said Ned in a while, but that's Ned's sister, right?
Yes.
Okay. Now we know people sleep with their brother and sister in this fucking show.
So you think that he slept with his sister? Well, it's not confirmed. It's not confirmed who his sister's baby. Right? We don't know whose baby. In the South, but we don't know who the father is. That's the main thing, though.
But where they're showing that picture,
well, there's heavy speculations on who the father is, but yeah, it's not confirmed yet.
Right. Yes. Right. Okay. So that's why we can't talk about that, but we do know one side of it. Is possibly we now know that Jon is technically not a bastard if he's actually part of his like bloodline, okay, from his sister. He's not a bastard. He's not his son, which is still the case. Like, but he is a Stark.
It wasn't.
That's his sister.
That's his sister, but that's in his blood. But it was.
But we don't know who the father is, so we also don't know what else he is.
Said
okay.
She said Robert had promised you safe passage, whatever.
All we know is that Robert would be very upset about the parentage.
Right. Robert was with his sister, Rob, the guy who died at the start of the show. Robert Baratheon, who was married to Cersei.
Yes.
He used to be with his sister.
Yes.
That's why. We know that.
Yes.
So, because that's why they were old friends at the start. They knew each other for a long ass time. They fought in many battles and shit like that.
Yeah.
So that's all we know right now is that they're
the Moondor Castle.
No, that's Catelyn's family. Yeah, that's different. Yeah, you're going all over the place now.
Sorry, no. I just fucking who knows?
The Moondor. Like, where the fuck did the Moondor come from?
I don't know, because I'm trying to think of
the Moondor Castle.
Where Ned was, if he's in the south or if he's in the Like,
Oh,
where he
in
was.
this scene,
Doesn't
He's
he
in
say
the south, I think.
south, right?
yeah,
And
that's what he's
the baby
saying.
came from the south. That's what's fucking.
Why don't you
me up.
look at the map of Game of Thrones and see what's in the south? Take the time and then go
Think
look. Do
again,
your
watch
homework.
the
Yeah,
intro.
do your homework. Do your homework. Look at what's in the south. I think he's giving you a clue. Maybe
I
try to piece
know
it together.
is, man.
All right, we're gonna move on now. We can't really theorize anymore.
Okay.
But this was crazy. This was a good scene, though. This is a great.
Oh,
scene.
yeah.
Yeah.
Man. This is like, okay.
This is a huge payoff until they like
I like this
muted what his name was and whatnot, you know.
Yeah.
and I like to see.
And it also proves that Ned Stark was still an honorable man. So honorable that he was willing to take shit from anyone.
That's
for
right.
the
From his
entire,
wife. From his wife, from like
the other
yeah,
lords and everyone that he, you know, dishonored his family.
yeah.
And it was all for naught.
And the last time they left off in that scene where the Three-Eyed Raven interrupted, or when he yelled and like the fucking Ice King, whatever his name, came there, and like it was right after he didn't actually win that fight that he said to his son that he won. And then it looked like he was dishonorable somewhat. You're like, oh, what else do we know about him? And then
he still won. They kind of won, but it wasn't the way that he said. You know, you stab a guy in the back, you're pretty much a piece of shit, right?
Yeah, right. But it's true though, because when that happened, it put the thought in your head, oh, maybe there's other things we don't know about Ned Stark, right? And then like when they came back to this scene, like you said, this kind of solidified the fact that he actually is a good person still. Like, look what he did in this situation, like he fucking right, but like. We don't know who the father is yet, and we also like.
It fucking threw me up. I wrote, "Is that John?" That's what I wrote.
Right. Well, the way they cut to him, I mean, of course.
It fucked me right up.
And the cool thing too was, they made him basically now lead the North here, so it actually all fucking tracks, like in that sense, to what you believe is the situation right now on the show, right? Like that's very interesting. Yeah, so very cool. Afterward, at the Great Hall of Winterfell, Lord Jon Royce speaks against allying the Knights of the Vale with wildling invaders. Tormund counters that they were invited into the realm and thus are not invaders. Jon reminds the assembly that the free folk fought side by side with the Northmen and the Knights of the Vale and won, then adds that his father used to state true friends are found on the battlefield. Lord Clay Serwyn argues that with the Boltons defeated, the war is over and that winter has arrived, the coldest one in 1,000 years, according to the Maesters. He then proposes everyone to ride home and wait out the coming storms. Jon counters that the war is not over and the enemy doesn't wait out the storm. He brings the storm. Then the assemble begin to argue amongst themselves. This is where that little girl gets this great scene, Jay. Here we go. This is what's her name? The actress's name. I forgot her name. Bella. Yeah. Yeah.
Bella Ramsey.
Bella Ramsey. Yeah. She
makes the same last name as Ramsey's.
Yeah. It's true, actually. Yeah. At this, Lyanna Mormont stands up and speaks to Lord Wyman Manderly about how his son was murdered at the Red Wedding, yet he recently refused the Stark summons. She then turns to Lord Robert Glover and reminds him how he swore an oath to House Stark, yet refused to aid them in their hour of greatest need. Finally, she confronts Lord Clay Serwyn and reminds him that his father was flayed alive by Ramsay Bolton, yet he also refused to aid the Starks. She then adds that both House Mormont and the North remember and that they have no king but the king in the North, whose name is Stark. She doesn't care that Jon Snow is a bastard, for he has the blood of Eddard Stark. Thus, he is her king until his death. Yo, this is a fucking sick fucking like.
She got everybody riled up.
She called them out on their shit. She's right. She's like, I was there with him. Where the fuck were all you? And this guy, like, he's like, where were you guys? Like, didn't want to. It's true. They all went around hat in hand. Oh, can you help us? No, get the fuck out of here. They're just like, called them out on their shit, right? This little girl, man, like awesome, like such a sick scene, man. You like this character, right?
Oh yeah, she's great. She's great.
Waiting for her to show up. I thought I had seen her maybe, but I don't think I did prior to that.
Yeah.
But when she had showed up, in the last couple episodes, but she had showed up. But it's kind of crazy, man.
This was like a fuck yeah moment though, when they fucking all riled together here. Like the North remembers. Like I love that shit, man. I love that shit.
We waited 6 seasons for them to get back on top, basically, right?
So the North remembers, but sometimes they forget for a little bit. They tend to forget sometimes. They remember again. They're like, yeah, but hey, wait a second.
Hey, you're playing fucking. You're playing war, man. So
yeah.
Fucking, you know.
And I mean, let's be honest. Jon's a way better person to get along with than Rob was. right? So
big time.
The assembled begin to quietly discuss until Lord Wyman stands up, admitting that Lady Mormont speaks harshly but truly, then adds that after his son died for the young wolf, he ignored John's summons to keep more Manderleys from dying for a lost cause, but that he was wrong. John has avenged the Red Wedding. He is the White Wolf, the king of the north. He bears his sword and kneels. Lord Robert is the next one to stand up, stating his regret for not fighting beside him. John humbly says that there's nothing to forgive. Lord Glover turns to the rest of the lords, announcing there will be more fights to come and that House Glover will stand behind House Stark as it had for 1,000 years. He also bears his sword and kneels, hailing John as the king of the north. Inspired, the rest of the assembly, including the Lords of the Vale, stand up, following the example and hailing John as king of the north, as the Northern Lords and River Lords had done for Rob some years ago. Even Davos joins, declaring his allegiance. Please, Lady Mormont watches her elder male counterparts and cheers. John stands up and shares a look with a smiling Sansa. However, Sansa's smile fades as Littlefinger looks at her in a sinister fashion in the corner of the room, right?
Yeah. If I can do that Littlefinger look.
Yeah, you want to go ahead? You want to try to do the look?
No, I can't do it, man. I can't do it.
Sansa. Yeah.
The best. Every time I see him, man, that comes in my head now. That fucking Nico saying Sansa. It's fucking
the way he
right
says
now,
it. He's
man.
a fucking creep, man. Oh yeah, Sansa.
See?
All right.
Need a meme. Like,
all right. A couple of scenes left here. We're almost there, guys. Jaime, Bronn, and the Lannister army they are leading arrive back at King's Landing. But their looks of triumph turn to those of shock as they witness smoke rising from where the Grey Sept and its surrounding districts once stood. Later, Cersei and her Kingsguard enter the throne room, the path to the Iron Throne flanked by Lannister guards. Cersei ascends the steps and stands before the throne. Qyburn, who is now her hand, proclaims Cersei Queen of the Seven Kingdoms and all the associated titles. He places a crown on her head, and she sits down on the throne. The crowd of the nobles assembled to witness the coronation glare at her with undisguised hatred, aware of what she did in order to gain power, seemingly professing their loyalty only out of fear of Cersei's wrath. But she has eyes only for Jaime, whose expression is fucking like a weird one. He's just like, I don't know about all this. Even Jamie's like, what the fuck did I walk in on here, right?
Yeah, he's like, what am I doing? I don't think he agrees with it.
Well, he also didn't even know everything that happened, right?
Like behind his back.
Yeah. Cersei has achieved her ultimate ambition to become queen of the Seven Kingdoms, or at least what little of it the Lannisters still control. Yeah, so this is bad now, right? Yeah. We can all agree, right, Jay? Like,
now you can figure out why she was dressing up in the beginning. Now I understand.
So
that whole suit and that giddy up or get up, whatever she fucking.
I think with this scene, it's safe to say that the direction of the show, since there's only 13 last episodes, Jay, is that the alliance is kind of formed here, and the people that are both coming against one another in terms of the throne. I think you can see where it's coming from. Yeah, like what the deal is now.
Yeah, I can.
And don't forget who else is still in the mix: the White Walkers. Yeah. Right. Yeah.
So that's even know what the fuck. Yeah. Like, that's a serious thing, man.
Right. But people's, they don't believe in the White Walkers. 95% of the fucking world doesn't believe in them right now. Right. Yeah. As we know. Right. So like, anyways, yeah. Well,
right, Kyle?
Yep.
See? I believe in them.
All right. Then what is this? Our last scene coming up here, I think. Yeah. This is it, I think. Right. Yeah. Sometime later, Drogon, Rhaegal, and Viserion fly over the assembled Dothraki, Ironborn, Dornishmen, Reachmen, and unsullied fleet of House Targaryen. This is them just fucking showing them how huge her army is now. And again, right after the scene of Cersei becoming now the queen of King's Landing, essentially, like
girl power.
This is it though. But these are the two big forces, kind of going head to head, probably coming up at some point.
That much.
This is not really a spoiler at this point. Daenerys, clad in Targaryen black, stands on the deck of the flagship with Tyrion, Missandei, and Varys looking ahead to the next round of the Game of Thrones, either the gift of a new ally or another massive war within House Targaryen for the Iron Throne. And that's where they end this fucking season, as Kyle said, the last of the great seasons of the show.
It was. I mean, it was good. Don't get me wrong. It was great.
Don't get me wrong. I liked season 7. I mean, I liked the whole fucking thing. But like, this was, this was the last season. We got 10 episodes. This is the last episode where the pace was still quick, but you could still enjoy it. You'll see, JT. Season 7 and 8, man. You're just like, You're where? You're here. You're there. If you're confused now with like landscape and houses and shit, you're just like,
I'll tell you.
How the fuck did we get here? It takes fucking 48 episodes to get what?
I gotta tell you something, Kyle. I'm very interested to see how these breakdowns are gonna fucking look when we go over these scenes. I'm gonna be fucking saying 50 scenes now. Like I'm telling you, when they comes this, now we're here, now we're there, now I'm gonna have to like lump them like fucking like 3 together. Honestly, it's gonna be like that. So like the way that we do it, where we break it down, we give these synopsises that come off of the internet. It's going to be a lot. I mean, a lot to cover and not so much to cover at the same time, because they don't really spend too much time focused on many things moving forward. Like they have to cover a lot of ground in a short period of time. And but again, I'm going in with being optimistic about it. I haven't really rewatched this again, Kyle, since the first time I've seen it. Right. So I'm interested to see what happens. I mean, it's funny because we even got audio on record where Jay didn't actually had seen the show yet when we first started this show 5 years ago, because we're coming up on our 5-year anniversary of Late Night Chat for the Late Night Chat Network stuff. It wasn't even a Late Night Chat Network at that time. It was just Late Night Chat. Yeah. 5 years ago, this Game of Thrones ended, and I talked about it on one of our episodes, and we haven't gone back to listen to audio, but I'm going to go back and listen to see how my opinion has changed. It's kind of cool because I have that on the record. I remember at the time I didn't hate on it as much as everyone else did, but there was a lot of things I disliked, let's say, by the finale. But I remember I defended it. I think we even had Christina on that time. We talked about it, right? Yeah.
I think I'd like to see how your perspective changes from when we recorded it. I still haven't listened to it, but from when we recorded it to now,
right?
I can't remember that far back, so I don't remember exactly what you said, but I like to see how your.
But you had no point of reference of it at the time. Like Jay was just totally out of the conversation. He never watched it, right? So it was just me commenting on it at the time, right? So yeah, I'd be interested to see. So have you rewatched it any time like last?
I'm gonna, because there's gonna be a few episodes I'm gonna want to come back for over the next 2 seasons. I'll rewatch both seasons because those were the two, like. I used to watch 1 through 3 religiously, and then got kind of bored of like graphics and stuff like that. So then I jumped from like 4 to 6, and then I never really rewatched 7 and 8 all that much. I mean, when the episodes first came out, I used to like watch them like 3 times a week before the next episode, watch all these fan theories and spoilers and stuff like that. But I never committed to like season 6 or 7 and 8 as much time as I did the other seasons.
Yeah, sure.
Not to say that there's not great content in there. There's a lot of great scenes. It's just,
yeah,
like you're getting to the meat and the potatoes of the whole show. You know what I mean? And as like a super fan, I kind of felt like they could have paced it out. They originally wanted to do 10 seasons, 10 episodes. I thought that would have been great for how they got to the ending.
Yeah, the people
just would have.
Yeah,
I would have flowed more. Like all these other seasons flowed a nice way, and sometimes a little long, but
like characters' fates aside, like where their storylines went, that's one thing to kind of hate on, because like you may not like how it ended for some of these characters by the end of their whatever their stories were in this show. But it is what it is, right? But I think the one complaint that I can agree with, and most fans had, again, was for the pacing. We had all these great scenes of these people that it didn't feel like it was well deserved for them to basically just rush through the end like this, because we spent and dedicated all this time to this show. So I think the fans really kind of felt fucked over in that regard, right? Like they're kind of like, really, like how could you not, like, you know, because before we would have whole episodes dedicated to just scenes of people talking to one another, where this was like you didn't really get that. You didn't really get this buildup that we had of all these other seasons previous, right? They had a lot of ground to cover. They had a lot of things to do, and kind of just like, you know how like some people would be traveling somewhere. I've said this to you before, like it would take them like a season for somebody to his journey to travel somewhere. In this, it was like literally in the same episode. They're like, oh, I got to go over here. And then like the next scene, they cut to them getting off the boat. And you're just like, what the fuck? Like, you know what I mean? Like,
a month later, right?
Yeah, it was just, but again, they couldn't waste. Like, they couldn't wait. They had fucking and like you said, Kyle had mentioned that last time he was on. The people that were involved with the show wanted to go off and do other projects. So they're like, I don't have time to fucking do this. So it felt very rushed, right? And undeserved, right?
Which sucks. I mean, that show was so big. They were making so much money. Like, there was no reason where they couldn't just renew the characters' contracts, pay them.
Right.
I think they were making like 7 to 10 mil per episode.
Right.
But I mean, how much revenue were they bringing in? Like they would shatter records every Sunday night by how many people would view their content.
You know what, Kyle? I also said to Jay the other day to stay optimistic about it because I'm like, you know what he has over us? He can actually watch all 13 episodes over the next few weeks, right? Where we had to wait fucking 2 years.
Oh, yeah. That was another punch to the gut was, 18 months per season or something like that it was.
He actually might enjoy it much more as a result of being able to watch it in a small amount of time, right? So I don't know.
Yeah.
We'll see, because I know that I think people just felt burned at the time because of that too, right? So anyways, we'll see though. I know all this talk about it, Jay. You're really excited to watch this next episode, but stay tuned, everybody, for season 7, episode 1. And Kyle, like you said, you're welcome to join us again for those seasons before we wrap up the show. But yeah, thank you again for coming on, Kyle. This was a lot of fun. And do you know the first episode's name of season 7? Do we have that?
I don't got it yet.
Let me pull that up here before I put on the music. Let's see. So season 7. You did. No, that's not what it's called. Episode 1. Game of Thrones. Let's see here. Game.
It's quicker than typing at them, you guys.
So there's 7 episodes in the season, and the first one's called Dragonstone. So there you go. Dragonstone, episode 1 of season 7. So guys, make sure to tune in, hit the like button, hit us up in the comments. Thank you for watching. We've seen the views for these episodes. It's been really great. Thank you, everybody. And these will be continuing to come out for Thursdays at 8 p.m. And it looks like we're going to be right on schedule to finish out the series. It shouldn't be any more interruptions in that sense. We've been pretty good about the episodes coming out on time. So yeah, good stuff. All right, Kyle. Yeah, absolutely. Kyle, thank you. Thanks again for coming on, man.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah, later.